The cheers light the beam. You'll be hearing about that throughout the year with the Sacramento Kings.
Are you ready? They want it!
Yeah.
Light the beam!
They do not know what Sacktown brings. When on the low, that's a Sacktown thing. Talking about us, it's a bounce out thing. Must they forgot we some Sacramento Kings. Whole squad going crazy, yeah, we back with it. Northern Cali going crazy, one sack winning. If you doubted us, then ain't no back spinning. This is real right here, ain't no catfishing. So tell me what you see now. Coming down the lane off the rebound. It's 9-16 now. Look towards the sky like the beam now. Tell them like the beam, like the beam now. You can tell them like the beam now. Tell them like the beam now. You can tell them like the beam now. Tell them like the beam, like the beam now. You can tell them like the beam now. Tell them like the beam now. If you reppin' that Kings like the beam now. Sack proud, make sure everyone knows. Let me tell you how this thing really goes. Yeah, we travel deep, whether we home or on the road, we lit. You don't want that smoke, we the team of the year. We shaking things over here, don't doubt, we believe over here. We don't bleed over here. And let me just speak real clear, only deal with real Kings over here. So tell me what you see now. Coming down the lane off the rebound. It's 9-16 now. Look toward the sky like the beam now. Tell them like the beam, like the beam now. You can tell them like the beam now. Tell them like the beam now. You can tell them like the beam now. Tell them like the beam, like the beam now. You can tell them like the beam now. Tell them like the beam now. If you reppin' that Kings like the beam now.
Light the beam!
What's up, Kings fans? Welcome back to Royal Rebounds, the Sacramento Kings YouTube channel for fans, by fans. If you're a Kings fan, do me a favor. Smash up that thumbs up. Hit that like button. Calvin and I are just here for fun. We're fans just like you, and we get paid in likes. So please, please, please smash up that like button. And hey, hit that subscribe button if you like anything that we have to say, or if you just like watching us. We put out live Kings content after every single Kings game. But hey, Calvin, the most important thing is the Sacramento Kings win today, dude. This is a 4-game winning streak. The Kings beat the Spurs tonight, 132-119 in San Antonio. As I mentioned, a 4-game winning streak, Calvin. In all 4 of these games, actually the last 5 games, including the loss to the LA Lakers, the Kings have put up over 132 points a game, which is absolutely huge. It's an offensive explosion. Calvin, how are you? Welcome into the show today.
I'm great, man. How is everybody out there? Thanks for watching. Barry, why not light the beam 4 times in a row?
Why not light the beam? Welcome in, everybody. Shout out to everybody here in the chat. PK wants to know how you like them apples. Of course, we got my guy Bouncer here. Tom is here. Kristen, welcome in, Kristen. Haven't seen you in a while. Paralux, welcome. Fred Dixon is here. Gothen, Gilbert, welcome in. Welcome in. Nate is here. Jesus Christ, we got a lot of OGs here in the chat. Amir is here. Charlie is here. Welcome in. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to Young Zell for putting out that fire Light the Beam song that we used as an intro in today's show. Definitely shout out to him. Awesome song, dude. Every time I listen to that, Calvin, it gets stuck in my head. So definitely shout out to him. And shout out to everybody that's joining in here. Lane, I see you here too. But Calvin, give me your first thoughts on the game.
This was as stereotypical or blueprint patented a Kings game as you could possibly come up with. It got off to a little bit of a slow start on the road, early game on Sunday, which we typically see. Able to use the offense to battle back. Defense had a ton of holes early on, a lot of points in the paint. Spurs were on pace to score 80 points in the paint in this game at halftime. But then they come out of the second half, they get reamed in the locker room for defense. They play a lot better. They get a little separation. They shot well in this game. The offense is again clicking. Spurs make a run late, but the Kings are able to hold it off and, 132 or 130 points. Again, it couldn't be any more stereotypical.
Yeah, this offense is absolutely cruising right now. We did see Kevin Huerter return for this game. He played 23 minutes of action, returning from the non-COVID-related illness. He missed the past few games, which didn't really affect the Kings, right, in the win category because they continue to win games. As I mentioned, this is a 4-game winning streak. We also got to see Davion Mitchell get going offensively. 9 big points for him in this game, including 4 of 5 from three-point range, and almost another triple-double for Sabonis, Calvin. He had that historical 15-15-15 triple-double in the last game. The only other person to do that was Oscar Robertson, which is really, really incredible. Shout out to Oscar, ex-King there. But hey, Calvin, let's dive here into the box score. Also, shout out to Ivan. Ivan, thank you for joining in. Great game, as you mentioned. All right. So, Domantas Sabonis, 35 minutes of action tonight, 7 of 14 from the field, 0 of 1 from three-point range, but 18 points, 8 assists, and 18 rebounds. Huge, huge game for him. He did pick up 4 personal fouls tonight. Harrison Barnes, 39 minutes of action, 29 big points. Dude, Harrison Barnes has been absolutely killing it, right? 27 in the last game, 29 tonight. He has been making shots, 4 or 6 from three-point range. 8 of 11 from the field, 2 rebounds and 2 assists to go along with that. Keegan Murray, 28 minutes, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 4 of 9 from the field, 3 of 7 from three-point range. De'Aaron Fox, 37 minutes of action, 23 points, a rebound, 3 assists. Calvin, I want to talk about the rebound number lately because a couple streams ago we talked about how the guards could definitely rebound more on the Kings, and that could help them get some of those extra crucial possessions and make a big difference in a lot of close games, which I know you look at the past couple games, dude, I'm feeling great, right? Because the Kings have not had many close games, at least towards the end of the game. But I know those critical rebounds could definitely help in close games, which the Kings had a lot of on that previous road trip. So, like I said, only 1 rebound for De'Aaron Fox tonight, but 3 assists, 3 personal fouls. Kevin Huerter returns, 23 minutes of action, 9 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 of 11 from the field. Would definitely like to see more, better than that. 1 of 4 from three-point range. But hey, this is his first game back, so we do have to take that into account. Another huge night for Trey Lyles. 12 points in 22 minutes of action. 19 points for my guy Davion Mitchell in 20 minutes of action. 7 of 8 from the field. 4 of 5 from three-point range. And Calvin, Malik Monk got ejected in the last game. Was absolutely on fire when that happened. 15 minutes of action tonight, only 2 points, only 4 shot attempts. Calvin, what really stood out the most to you here in the box score?
I think it's Harrison Barnes again. I mean, the dude has just been playing out of this world good offensively, so efficient, and he's just a really smart player, right? He's taking what the defense gives him. He never really, we don't think of him as much of a playmaker. He only had 2 assists tonight, but he had a really great critical pass to Domantas Sabonis for a mid-range jumper late in the fourth quarter when San Antonio was kind of on the end fringes of that run trying to make a one last gasp at it. He's just really smart. If they're going to give him the three-point shot, he's taking it and he's hitting it right now. If they start to close out hard on him, he'll go to the basket, get to the free throw line, get a good shot at the rim, or if they double team him in the paint like we saw there, he'll kick it out for the open shot. He's just playing very solid for them in a lot of areas. Only 2 rebounds tonight. That could definitely be better, but like we said on the last show, when he's hitting that three-point shot and he's scoring like this, the Kings are hard to beat no matter how many rebounds they get.
Yeah, I agree. And I was just going to touch on that, but shout out to Brian first. Brian says HB is playing like it's his contract year or something. Yeah, he's definitely been playing much better as of late. And yes, he is a free agent at the end of the season. Also, shout out to DJ for joining in. And Jeff, the lefty, is here. Good to see you, Jeff. Definitely good to see you here. Calvin, as far as the team stats go, I mean, we'll talk about the shooting percentage here in a little bit, but you're right. The Kings lost the rebounding battle in this game, 38-40. The Kings didn't have many assists in this game, only 24 as opposed to 27 for the Spurs. You mentioned the fast break points, 66, points in the paint, 66 for the Spurs as opposed to only 56 for the Sacramento Kings. But hey, only 6 turnovers tonight for the Kings, Calvin. That's got to be a season low, or at least very, very close to that. That's huge. 46% shooting from the three-point range, 55% shooting from the field, and 80% from the free throw line, Calvin. We talked about it, I think it was a couple streams ago, right, where I was like, I like to look at a lot of these numbers as almost like an algebra or a math problem, right, where in a perfect game, you're going to out-rebound your opponent, you're going to shoot better percentage, you're going to have more assists, you're going to have less turnovers, stuff like that, and that's always going to end up in a victory. However, there are moments like today where you don't out-rebound your opponent, right? You allow a lot of points in the paint. You don't have quite as many assists as your opponent, but you are able to limit turnovers and you're able to shoot exceptionally well. So you make the best out of the limited opportunities that you get. And hey, the Kings win tonight, Calvin. I know it's not, what we've been used to over the past 3 games, but the Kings win by 13, dude. It's a pretty comfortable win. I know there was moments, in the third, fourth quarter where the Spurs were trying to make a little bit of a comeback, but the Kings sealed it there at the end. They won by 13, and I think a lot of those things really, really factor into that.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, to me, there's 3 things that you really need to look at. Even if you don't watch the game, you could just look at these three things and determine how well the Kings played and if they had a good chance to win. And number 1 is rebounding. Number 2 is three-point shooting. Or number 3 is the bench. If they get good numbers in all 3 of those areas, they can beat any team in the NBA on any given night. And when they score, 125 or more, it's going to make it even harder for those really good teams to beat them as well. So tonight they didn't do a great job rebounding. We talked about the number line, as you were referring to, in like a math equation situation. They're at right around 41 rebounds per game right now. You'd like to see them get maybe 2 or 3 more. Tonight, only 38. That's not great. But you balance that out with great bench production and great three-point shooting. And again, it's really difficult to beat that team.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Shout out to Big Bird. Big Bird says the whole team plays selfish and is one. I think he means not selfish. But yeah, I agree, right? The team is we didn't get the assist numbers tonight that we normally had, but when guys are just absolutely killing it, like Harrison Barnes, right? 8 of 11 from the field, when Sabonis is shooting above 50% from the field, and guys are just making shots. Trey Lyles, excellent night for him, 4 of 4 from the field, 1 of 1 from three-point range. Sometimes you don't really need all those numbers, but this game is not something you really need to, put in a vacuum and look at it and say, okay, this is how we're going to win every game, right? But I agree with you, Calvin. They need to improve the rebounding. They need to improve the assists. The rest of it will kind of come with it. But you focus on those. And dude, like I said, only 6 turnovers tonight, which is absolutely incredible.
That's a huge number
for this Kings team. 6,
yeah.
Dude, if
Calvin,
if we could have 6 or less turnovers every single game, we'd be 42-0 right
now. Maybe. They definitely have a really, really good record. That's for sure.
Shout out to Sass for joining in, and also Bouncer. I don't know if I said hi to my Bouncer. Dude, Bouncer, you're awesome. You're here all the time. We appreciate you so much. And also Lydia is in the house here too. So shout out to Lydia and Brian for joining in. But Calvin, who's your king of the game? I know you got the chain on. Who's the defensive player of the game? I'll give you the floor.
Well, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I think I heard or saw somewhere in the chat that Davion already got the defensive player of the game chain. And you know me, I'm ready to give it to him every game. I mean, that third quarter was the difference for the Kings in this game. That's how they got separation. I thought Fox came out and played better defense at the start of the third as well. But Davion was, again, the guy that came in there and really set the tone for them. He forced a few turnovers. That's just the guy that he is. And tonight you got the offensive production from him too. Just like we talk about with Harrison Barnes, if you're able to get that extra added part of the game from a guy like Davion Mitchell, just makes the Kings that much tougher. But I would be happy to give it to him most nights. So off night it is again. I think the king of the game for me, Sabonis is he's just great in all areas, right? It's hard not to say that he shouldn't be the king of the game 99% of the time, but I'm going to give it to Harrison Barnes tonight because the Kings got off to a really slow start offensively in this game. They got down into a little bit of a hole very early. He was the guy that kept them close for the majority of that first quarter and played great, throughout the course of the game, continuing to put pressure on the defense. So if for this Kings team, if they're going to have those shaky starts or whatever, a guy like that to keep them in the game, in striking distance on the road, and then, they come out in the third quarter, really kill it, have the big point differential there, play much better defense, and Fox is clutch in the fourth. That's a recipe for this Kings team to win. So I'm definitely tipping the cap to Harrison Barnes today.
Yeah, Calvin, I mean, it's almost like, MVP voting, right? Where LeBron James was that guy that obviously he was the best player in the league for a really, really long time. And people just got tired of voting for LeBron, right? They're like, Derrick Rose had a good season. Calvin, I know you're a Derrick Rose fan. But, there was reasons where you're just like, okay, we're tired of giving it to LeBron. We're going to give it to somebody else. Honestly, that's why I think Jokic, if he wins MVP again this year, is so, so incredible to win 3 in a row. But I feel the same way about Sabonis, right? This dude does it every single night. He is so, so impressive. He's 2 assists away from a triple-double, 18, 18, and 8 tonight. A huge, huge game. But, Calvin, I'm going to agree with you, dude. I'm giving the game ball to HB. 29 points, 8 of 11 from the field, 4 of 6 from three-point range. I don't know what he's doing differently, but it's definitely working. He is stroking it from three-point range, Calvin. Everything. He should change his last name to DeRozan because when he shoots it, it goes in. He is playing exceptionally, exceptionally well. So I agree with you. I think that Davion obviously should get the defensive, player of the game, right? He did have the offensive numbers to go with it. Dude, when he shoots 7 of 8 from the field, 4 or 5 from three-point range, and can put up 19 points regularly, this guy is going to be a very, very scary guy in the NBA. That is for sure. But, yeah, highlight to him. Also, shout out to Sabonis and HB. Great games from them tonight. Let's see. Nate says, "Did y'all hear what Mark Jones said?" I did not, Nate. What did he say? Let us know. Don't leave us hanging. Shout out to Charles here for joining in. Another win. Also, Ryder is here as well. Lane wants to know, Cal, if that sun's ever going to set behind you. It's been a sunset for a moment.
Coming. Barry and I are going to be in the same room doing the show in the not too distant future, so that the sun will set.
Oh, that's hilarious. I thought at first he was going to say, Calvin, did you get some sun today? Because your face is a little red, or at least it looks like this on the camera. You want to tell everybody what we did this morning?
We went whale watching this morning. We were out on the boat.
Pretty nice. Pretty nice. We were on a 55-foot catamaran checking out whales. Enjoying some Mai Tais. Definitely a great experience. But yeah, as Calvin mentioned, we will be in the same room. We're getting our new studio very, very soon, so hopefully you guys are excited. Calvin and I will be in the same room, and it's going to be awesome. Shout out to Jake King here. Jake says, do you guys think we have a chance for home court in the first round? Our schedule for the second half is easier, and a lot of bad teams will be going all out tanking. Calvin, I know you're dying to answer this question, so I'll let you handle it.
They definitely have a chance. I mean, I don't know what percentage chance they have. Their schedule is pretty favorable the rest of the way, especially when you compare it to the start. I think the fact that they're more than halfway through the season now and they're 6 games above 500, it tells you that they definitely have a chance. It's not a guaranteed thing. It's going to be tough. They're definitely going to have to win some games against some really good teams down the stretch, but they have a chance.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we talked about it a couple of streams ago, right? The Kings had the 7th hardest schedule to start the season. They have the 3rd easiest to finish the season. I mean, we're halfway through the season, Calvin. This isn't 10, 20 games in where we're like, okay, maybe they got off to a hot stretch and things are going to kind of even out a little bit. Calvin, I think we have a pretty good feeling about what this Sacramento Kings team is going to be, what they look like. Currently, they have the 4th best record in the Western Conference. Whether an easy schedule helps them move up the rankings or not is yet to be seen. But I definitely think that this is a playoff contending basketball team. I would love it. I would love it if they finished in the top half of the standings. Because you guys know, fifth or better, Calvin loses the hair. So I'm loving that.
There is one
definitely
thing I think that's worth mentioning when you're kind of trying to forecast the rest of the way for the Kings here. They've been in first place in the division for a little while now. They've also been by far the healthiest team in that division. All other teams in the Pacific Division have really battled a lot of key critical injuries to big-name guys. If those teams get all their guys back healthy, it's going to be a bit of a race to the finish line to see if the Kings can win the division and possibly finish, fourth or better to get that home court in the first round. It's doable, but it is going to be a challenge.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I got the standings up here. Currently, Denver's the number 1 seed. You got Memphis 2, New Orleans 3, Sacramento 4. I mean, you look at a lot of these standings. At the beginning of the season, you would have said Denver, Memphis, New Orleans are probably going to be up towards the top. Dallas, a lot of people thought losing Jalen Brunson was going to affect them. Luka needs more help, honestly, right? We thought the Clippers were going to be much better. They haven't been very healthy, Calvin. I also saw a report that came out yesterday saying that Kawhi Leonard is not happy with a minutes restriction. Honestly, Calvin, I didn't know that he was under a minutes restriction. If anything, I would have thought Kawhi was limiting himself, not the Clippers. So that's an interesting situation to monitor. Obviously, Minnesota made the big offseason trade for Rudy Gobert, but they've dealt with injuries to Karl Anthony Towns. What are they going to look like? Golden State's been a shit show. I'm just going to throw that out there. And Calvin, dude, did I not call that after that incident with Draymond Green?
Yeah.
I called it.
A lot of people were
Utah,
very suspect of them. Yeah.
No idea what Utah's doing here in the 9th seed. I definitely expected more out of Phoenix, the Lakers. Portland is still young and rebuilding. Oklahoma City is still young and rebuilding. So I definitely see some of these teams kind of shifting around as far as the standings go. But, Calvin, I'm not really surprised with where any team is currently placed here other than the Sacramento Kings. So I would expect a lot of the same, honestly.
Yeah, Phoenix is the one team for me that I think, Devin Booker has been so good this season when he's been on the court, but he's missed a lot of time as well. If he is healthy down the stretch, they were right at the top of the standings earlier in the year when he was playing. That'd be the one team, especially when you're talking about the Kings in that division, that I'd be worried about making a surge towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, dude, that Fox dunk is great. He's averaging 1 poster a game right now. It's looking great. It's looking great. Shout out to Angel here for joining in. Let's keep the streak going. Alex is here from the Hair and Beard podcast. Sup, bros? Good win, but man, our D is so bad. LOL. Would you guys rather have Nas or Pirtle? I know Calvin's going to say Nas. Calvin, you still agree with that? Nas Reed over Jakob Pirtle, right?
I would like to have Nas Reed. Yeah, Pirtle had a good game today. He really did. I think Nas Reed is cheaper. He's, I believe, younger. He's on an expiring deal. Maybe you could sign him, to an extension in the off season. I think he's better served as a backup center. Pirtle, he's played his way into the starting lineup in the NBA, especially with San Antonio. He's had some productive years there. I'm still unsure about playing Sabonis and Pirtle together at the same time. So, yeah, I'd rather have Nas.
Nate, are you talking about Mark Jones saying Herter put him on a flight like an IG model? Because, yeah, I remember hearing that during the game, and I was like, wait, what? That was absolutely wild. That's hilarious. That is absolutely hilarious. Brian says Kings now get every team's best shot. I agree with that, too. Teams are taking the Sacramento Kings seriously. ESPN starting to take the Sacramento Kings seriously, Calvin. Yep. So that, we've been asking for the respect, right, which I think we're slowly getting, but I think a lot of you guys are right. At the same time, that means that teams are going to be, putting maybe something, on the back of the Kings, maybe a target, something like that. This is not just the, easy win, going to Sacramento, let's take it easy. Every game is serious now, so I agree with you guys. The Kings, they're getting the respect, but at the same time, you got to earn it past this point, right? They've shown that they're legit, but they got to continue to prove it every single night. So definitely very, very important. Also, want to remind you all, we are live on Twitter Spaces. You can join us. You can have your voice heard. So just go over to Twitter, Royal_Rebounds. You can click on our profile picture, join the space, and you can request to come up on stage if you do want to talk. So we would love to hear from you guys. I know it's a little early for some of our guys like Fred, but hey, Bench Matthew is in the house. Shout out to Bench Matthew. Why not 6 games over 500, Calvin? Why not? Calvin, you know the last time the Kings were 6 games over 500? Because I don't.
I'm going to guess somewhere in between 2002 and 2006. somewhere in there.
It's pretty easy for us, right? Like, you don't even know the answer. You're like, okay, it was probably earlier than 2006 because the last 16 years have been an absolute shit show. So any good numbers, couldn't have happened in the last 16 years. So that's awesome. Shout out to David here. Light the beam. Alfredo. Shout out to Alfredo. We did win tonight, Alfredo. 132-119 over the Spurs. Calvin, I'm going to say I called it, dude. I called a win tonight. Did I not?
I think you did. You called a win. It was
one of the easier ones.
Pretty much every time.
Easier ones of the season, that's for sure. Calvin, what do you think about HB, dude? Tell me about HB. What's been the difference in him over the past couple games?
It's the three-point shooting. I mean, I think he's played really well overall throughout the course of the entire season, but what's separating him right now is the efficiency in the three-point shot. You know, to be able to score almost 30 points regularly with 10, 11 shots per game, that's really, really fantastic. You just can't kind of put a value on that for this team that relies on the three-point shot a lot. He still is taking it to the basket. He's getting his free throws. Maybe not as many, but that's because he's taking more three-point shots right now because he can't miss.
Yeah, he's playing exceptionally well. DJ wants to know, what if Ayton is available? Would they ask too much? They're in disarray. Calvin, would you be interested in this team adding on DeAndre Ayton?
I'd be interested. First of all, I'm not sure I really agree with the fact that Phoenix is in disarray. Like I said before, Devin Booker's been hurt a lot this season. When he has been healthy, when the team's been healthy, they've missed a lot of guys, not just him. But when they have been healthy, they've been consistently a top 4 team in the Western Conference. So I don't know if they're really panicking yet. I think they were worried about things coming into this season with the drama, hanging over them from the offseason. But they kind of put that to rest. Unlike the Warriors early on, they came out really well. Booker close to 30 points a game. So I'm not sure they're really panicking yet, but if they were to make DeAndre Ayton available, they'd probably be asking for a lot in return, would be my guess.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, anybody like that, right, is going to cost a lot. Former number 1 overall pick. He's locked up long term. He's playing exceptionally well. Calvin and I want this Kings team to get better. But how much are we really willing to give up, right? We don't want to, damage chemistry. We don't want to, break the back of this team by giving up too much. So I like Ayton a lot. He was somebody that I would have maybe targeted in the offseason, but I don't know about currently. I don't know. I think it would cost too much. Shout out to Jim here. Jim says, Calvin and Barry, how would you feel if the Kings signed Draymond as a free agent? I think Sabonis does for you what Draymond Green does. First off, Jim, Draymond Green is a much better defender, even currently, right? I think he's lost a lot over the past couple of years, but I think he's a much better defender than Sabonis. That's an interesting move, Calvin. That's an interesting move. I haven't really thought about it. I thought about Draymond joining a bunch of other teams, right? We talked about the Pistons. We talked about the Rockets. Obviously, he's going to command a bunch of money, which is probably why I left Sacramento out of that discussion. But it's interesting, Calvin. It's an hour away from where he currently plays, so he might not even have to sell his house or move. He stays in California. Any thoughts on bringing Draymond to Sacramento?
Personally, I wouldn't. I'd just be a little too afraid with there's certainly a lot of valuable things for Draymond still that he brings to the table, but I'd be worried about the overall production declining as his age continues to creep up. He's not one of these guys like Steph and LeBron that seems to get better with time. The things that he does really, really well as he continues to get older are going to be harder to do, especially for an undersized guy that plays defense, inside close to the rim and guards bigger guys. He's definitely a good rebounder for somebody his size. That would be a great addition for Sacramento, but I think you're going to have to overpay to get him at this stage in his career. And I also think that we know what the deal with Draymond is, right? He's a bit of a loose cannon. And I think as his play continues to decline, you're going to see more and more of those, or not necessarily that you'd see more of those incidents because he does them pretty regularly. But when you're playing really, really great, you can kind of make up for some of that stuff, even punching Jordan Poole in the face. As you get older and the production starts to decline, you can't make up for those things as much anymore, and they become more and more of a distraction, which is what you alluded to with why they're having trouble this season, or one of the reasons maybe. So yeah, I would probably not be in pursuit of him.
Yeah. I mean, let's say, I was talking to Josh today. He's a big Houston Rockets fan. Of course, I was rubbing it in his face over the last 2 victories the Kings have had because, hey, since I've known Josh, Calvin, the Kings have not been very good. The Rockets have been good, right? So it felt pretty good. But, we were talking about maybe bringing a guy like Draymond to the Houston Rockets. The reason I even consider doing that is, first off, the Rockets are not a good team currently, right? So it's not really going to hurt them. 2, they have a ton of young talent and no real veterans, leadership, or anything. So bringing in Draymond, they have the money to pay him. They can allow him basically to establish whatever culture they want, and they can only pretty much go up from there. The Kings are in a much different situation. They have a leader in Sabonis and Fox. They're on the up and up. Yes, there is a lot of young talent, but they're already developing a culture, something like that. So all those reasons would be potential for me to not consider a guy like Draymond Green because I wouldn't want to hurt the process. I also don't want to handicap the Sacramento Kings salary-wise, right? Because Draymond's going to want a ton of money. Obviously, like I said, teams like the Rockets, teams like the Pistons have money to spend. I know the owner of the Pistons is a Michigan State alumni, a huge Draymond Green fan.
It makes a lot of sense.
So, they are going to offer him a ton of money. I don't know if I want the Kings to be competing with that. That's for sure. Bench Matthews says, I rewatched that YouTube video of those ESPN ding-dongs saying the league should have stopped the Domantas Sabonis trade and said it was malpractice. Interesting. I have not heard that malpractice. Did you hear that, Calvin? I mean, I heard a lot of people knocking it. I never heard anybody say it was malpractice.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of different things about that trade, good and bad. I haven't heard that one, but I don't look for as many of those clips either. So
Matthew, tag us in it on Twitter. I definitely want to check it out. Shout out to Joe Smith for joining in, former number 1 overall pick. Brian is here. Too bad the Kings need a year or 2 for player development on the defensive end. You can be sure Mike Brown will get there and enjoy that the offense is ahead of schedule in the meantime. I think that's a great point, Brian. And I don't think it's too bad, Absolutely. Right? I think this is a good thing, right? We've been talking about the rise of the Sacramento Kings for a really, really long time. They got the best offense, or at least they put up the most points per game in the NBA. They got the 3rd most efficient offensive in the NBA. And your head coach is a defensive-minded guy. They drafted defensive-minded players in Davion Mitchell. They brought in guys like KZ Okpala, obviously Harrison Barnes, and some other guys like that. So I think the defense will continue to improve. Calvin and I talked about it on a previous episode. I don't even know what word I'm trying to say here. The easiness the easing of the schedule through the second half should allow the Kings to buckle down a little bit defensively. So I expect to see that as well. But Brian, I wouldn't look at that as a bad thing. I would look at that as a good team. The Kings are ahead of schedule. They're playing exceptionally well. This offense is out of control. We're just waiting for the defense to catch up, and this is going to be a very, very, very scary team. So I agree with you there. Bench Matthew says, here's my position for the year. Keep this team. Don't make too many trades. Get that playoff experience. Team whatever hard lessons we are presented and make necessary moves in the offseason. I'm leaning towards that, Matthew, unless something just falls in my lap, right? We've been talking about John Collins. They had another report come out yesterday the Hawks are lessening their asking price. They're basically trying to get rid of him at this point. So if I can make a deal for a John Collins that makes sense, not giving up core players, not, financially burdening ourselves in the future, I would be open to it. But I do agree with you. I think ultimately we probably shouldn't make too many adjustments. This is a young team. They're growing. It's the first year of a new head coach. And, getting some experience in the playoffs, I think, is number one. And I think the Kings will make it. So I think that's already going to happen. Calvin, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think that's kind of been the feeling on this show pretty much all year long. You're certainly not closing your mind off completely to making an addition or a move or something, but you have to feel like it's the right move. And I think Monty understands, having put this team together last offseason, that they are very young. There's a lot of potential and room to grow with this head coach, and they want to develop these guys as well. There's a lot of them that they don't want to give away necessarily just because you desperately need a backup center and you're going to perhaps give up too much to get somebody who, although they might help, you're losing a lot in return. They're playing with house money at this point, fourth in the West. They've got, like you said, the best offense, and you just want to see signs that they're on the right track defensively, and you do see those signs. It's not frequently enough, and certainly when they play the best teams in the league, it's going to be more difficult from that aspect. But you look at this box score tonight, that third quarter, with the highest scoring offense in the NBA, if you can get one quarter where you play great defense, you cause a lot of turnovers, and you get separation, you should win a lot of times. And today they were plus 13 in the third quarter. They won by how many points, Barry?
13.
13
points. Shout out to J-Man for joining in. Guys, we're only a couple likes away from seeing the Island Boys. So if you guys, you want to get there, you want to support the channel, make sure you smash up that like button. Calvin, we got Nick here on the line on Twitter Spaces. You want to talk about any of these other starters, or should we let Nick get it out?
Let's get it going. We need some
right.
Nick.
All right, Nick is on the line. Nick, how are you, buddy?
Good, guys. I just wanted to let you guys know that today I went to the doctor today. I got diagnosed with the upper respiratory infection. I got a strep throat.
Oh, no. I'm sorry to hear that, bud.
I got strep throat.
Did you have to miss your practice?
I did go to practice yesterday, but I still was feeling it yesterday.
Okay.
Man, dude, I'm so hard
get
to
well
hear
soon,
that,
buddy.
man.
But I'm doing okay. I got some medication. I'm on medication. I started it today.
Okay.
Wish you a speedy recovery.
Yeah, so I started the medication today, but why not beat strep throat?
That's
Why
right,
not,
man.
dude?
Why
and
not?
hey, it's unfortunate, but we try and look on the positive side. You're gonna have more time to watch Kings basketball, Nick.
Yes, I am.
You mentioned your practice yesterday. I want to hear about it, man. Tell me about how was your practice?
It went pretty good yesterday.
Okay. What was your favorite part?
Well, my favorite part was that my favorite at least part was at least watching the Kings shooting good basketball.
Okay.
Watching the Kings playing good basketball, watching the Keegan Murray, everybody
Always
else.
good to watch
They
the
played
Kings
good
play
defense
basketball.
tonight, and they played good defense today, and I'm so impressed about the team, how they're doing.
Yeah, dude. It was good to see Davion finally getting on the board, right? 19 points in 20 minutes for Davion Mitchell. He's going to be unstoppable when he can do this regularly.
Yes.
Yeah, dude. That's awesome. So you're feeling okay right now? Is it bothering you a little bit? You said the strep throat?
I took some ibuprofen.
Okay. Hopefully you'll sleep good tonight. How's the weather been over there, Nick?
It's been raining lately.
Oh, man.
Yeah, sounds like a lot. Raining a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bummer, man. Well, make sure you take that medicine. Make sure you rest up, dude. When's your next practice?
Next Saturday.
Okay. You think you're going to be able to make that?
Yeah, I'll be able to make it.
Did your coach give you some game film to watch, some plays to work on, stuff like that?
Yeah.
All right,
Awesome.
dude. What have you figured out what position you're playing?
No, I have not.
Okay. All right.
That's practice number 2, probably.
Yeah, practice number 2, dude. I want to see you dunking on some people, Nick. You better send us some highlights.
Okay.
Why not?
All right, Nick,
Why not?
Before I let you go, obviously you know the Kings play the Lakers on Wednesday night. You want to give us a prediction for that game? Uh-oh.
Yeah, you got to beat LA.
Gotta beat LA.
Beat LA.
It's in LA. Are we gonna hear the light the beam chants, Nick?
Yes, like the beam.
Light the beam. Why not light the beam? Well,
Why
hey,
not
man,
light the beam?
I want to appreciate you and thank you for coming in on the show tonight. I hope you feel better soon. You know, being sick is no fun at all. Hopefully you'll be healthy for your practice on Saturday.
Yes, I hope I will.
And come see us on Wednesday, Nick, okay?
Okay.
All right, buddy. Have a good night. What is it, Calvin? What were you saying the last time? Beam dreams?
Sleep beams.
Sleep.
Oh, sleep
Sleep
beam.
beam.
I'm backwards. Sleep beam, Nick. Sleep beam.
Sleep beam.
We'll see you on Wednesday, buddy. Have a good night, man. Hope you feel better
Alrighty.
soon.
Get better soon, Nick.
Thank you.
Always good. Always good to hear from Nick. Dude, that was wild, dude. That was like a plot change. It's like, oh, here I am. I thought we were going to hear all about his practice and how exciting it was. And then it's like, oh, shit, I'm sick.
He's in Kevin Huerter protocol status right now.
Yeah, dude, maybe he's been hanging out practicing his three-point shooting with Kevin Huerter. Well, dude, hopefully he feels better soon because that sucks, man. I really do hate being sick. But, hey, back to the game here, Calvin. Keegan Murray we talked about a little bit, but not too much. 28 minutes, 12 points, 5 rebounds. Anything you want to say about Keegan Murray? I mean, the dude has been efficient. He seems to be getting better every single game in terms of, like, positioning, what he does. Any thoughts on him?
I mean, he was solid tonight overall. You know, he shot the ball pretty well from outside like he always or usually does. The 5 rebounds is a good number to have, a good barometer for him. You'd like to see that stay at 5 or better pretty consistently here. He was a little quiet in the first half, but they also, you know, HB got going right away. Sabonis is always doing his thing. De'Aaron Fox was the man down the stretch again in the fourth quarter, and the bench came in and scored a lot too. They're usually going to be subbing him out as one of those first couple guys, and Trey Lyles or Davion, you know, they'll eat into some of Keegan's minutes, and when they play well on offense, it's going to, you know, lower his production. But I just think overall, the big picture, Keegan's in a really good situation here, not being asked to do too much too early on in his rookie season. There are some guys that are ready for that. Paolo Banchero is definitely having one of those types of seasons in Orlando, but on the flip side of that, they're not winning as many games because they don't have as much around him. So I think for Keegan to be able to go through the whole season as a starter, even though he doesn't always play starter minutes, but get that experience, be in the starting lineup, a starting lineup that has statistically been one of the best in the NBA all season long, but still has, you know, the safety valves like the Harrison Barnes and Trey Lyles of this team to kind of counteract for him when he is struggling a little bit. It's going to benefit him, I think, later on in his career.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I think that Mike Brown, all of his time, right, in Cleveland and L.A., in Golden State has really helped him with developing young players. But I think the most important thing is him looking back to his time in Golden State and the fact that they drafted James Wiseman, number 2 overall, and they had such a hard time integrating him with that team, right? He made a lot of mistakes early on. They kind of pulled the plug on him. Yes, he's dealt with injuries as well, but I just don't feel like he was ever properly integrated into that team. And a lot of people are going to say, well, they won a title last year. Yeah, they did. But the year before that, they were shit. The year before that, they were worse than that, Calvin. And he had time. They had time to try and integrate that guy into the squad. So honestly, if I was Mike Brown, one of my biggest regrets in being in Golden State would probably be in developing a young player in James Wiseman and trying to get him, because Calvin, they gave up a lot to get him, right? The number 2 overall pick, that's a lot to put on one guy. I think he's done a much better job here in Sacramento with Keegan Murray. He didn't start him at the beginning of the season. Then he's like, okay, it's time to start Keegan. Puts him in there. If the dude makes mistakes, sometimes he'll pull him out of the game, but he hasn't pulled him out of the starting lineup. He's continuing to give him confidence, and sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. But in the long run, I think it definitely will pay off. So I think that, learning lessons from the past can definitely help you in the future, Calvin. And I see a direct correlation between the James Wiseman incident in Golden State and how Keegan has been brought along here in Sacramento. What about you?
I think there's definitely some Mike Brown learned a lot from that experience, right? And he's going to do things maybe a little differently with Keegan. The one thing I'll say about the differences between the two is James Wiseman is obviously a very different player and plays a very different position than Keegan, and there aren't really any other guys on that Golden State Warriors team like James for him to try to learn from on the fly. I mean, I know Draymond was trying to take him under his wing a little bit, but they're very different players. Big men are usually harder to develop, especially when they're very young, 19 years old when he came into the NBA. Keegan's situation, very, very different. A different skill set. I think he's got players on this team that are very similar and complement that same skill set, so he's had a better opportunity to learn from some of those guys. But certainly I think Mike Brown is going to change things up a little bit from that situation to this one too.
PK, if you want to join in on the show, we don't have the phone number up right now, but you can join on Twitter Spaces. So just go on Twitter, follow us, Royal_Rebounds. You can click on our profile picture. It'll ask to join the space, and then you can request to come up on stage like Nick just did, and you can have your voice heard. So unfortunately, the call-in number is not going to be up for like another week or so, but you can join us via Twitter Spaces. So hopefully that helps. If you're not sure how to do it, you can always message me on Twitter, and I'll walk you through it as well. J-Man says, say we trade for 2 players that we intend to play in the rotation right away and are both considered upgrades. Which 2 players are getting bumped out of the rotation? Honestly, J-Man, I don't think the Kings are going to trade for 2 players that they want to put in the rotation right away. I think that if they make any move, it's going to be kind of a minor thing, right? One guy that's going to they're going to kind of put in maybe the backup center role, maybe a guy that can do a little of the things that Sabonis does, or they make a big upgrade for like a starting power forward or something like that. I don't know if they're going to just trade for 2 guys and throw them right in the rotation right away. Any thoughts on that, Cal?
Well, I think the biggest part of that question, you're asking who gets knocked out of the rotation. If they trade for 2 players, they're going to be trading guys that are in the rotation right now. Those guys will definitely get bumped out of the rotation. The question is, who are they going to give up? You've heard rumors about a lot of players on this team, whether it's Rashawn Holmes, who I know is not really even in the rotation right now, but maybe it's a Harrison Barnes, a Davion Mitchell, depending on how big of a trade or a move they're looking to do. That, I think, is ultimately going to determine who gets bumped out of the rotation first.
Great point. Dude, I'm not big on Plumlee, guys. I don't know. I don't think he's a poor man's Sabonis. I think he's very, very limited. He's an NBA player, but I really don't think Plumlee can help this Kings team, unfortunately. Lydia.
The Kings won, yeah. Oh, yeah, the Kings won, yeah. The Sacramento Kings, oh, yeah, the Kings won, yeah. Fox is so fast. Sabonis is so strong, yeah. Coach Mike is so smart, yeah. They are the playoff bound, yeah.
Calvin, we're 6 games over 500 right now, and Kings fans are here in the chat still wanting to talk about trades, wanting to talk about how to improve this basketball team. It's rough, guys. I know it, right? We've been talking about trades. I've been looking at Tankathon, all these websites for so long. It's hard to feel that like we're experiencing the real thing at the moment. But I think a lot of people just need to sit back, be happy the Kings are winning basketball games. We don't need to panic and make a big trade or trade a bunch of guys away. Like, I agree with a lot of people here in the chat. We have a lot of young players on this team that just need time to develop. Metu is one of them. I definitely want to talk about him. De'Aaron Fox is getting better. We just made the trade for Herter. We talked about Keegan Murray. Sabonis is having the best season of his career, and he's still very, very young. So I know a lot of people want to just, fast forward and rush ahead to try and be a serious playoff contender, but I think time is honestly what we really, really need. Charlie says Josh Richardson had a good debut tonight. I'm 60% sure that Josh Richardson will be on the Kings by the season's end. Calvin, I don't know why the Kings would trade for another guard right now unless they are trading one out. Any thoughts on Josh Richardson joining the Kings?
I like Josh Richardson as a player a lot. I have to watch him a little bit more on the defensive end before I can really make a sound assessment of him there. But the dude is certainly a capable scorer, a little bit streaky from outside, but the Kings have a lot of those players already. I agree with you, though. I'm just wondering where he fits into the rotation. You're going to have to make talking about guys that get bumped out of the rotation or even a straight up substitution, right? Like trading a guard for him or a wing player. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me right now. I'd have to see, what the overall plan was, what your idea of who you're going to trade for him would be. He's certainly, I think, a capable backup two guard.
Yeah, Charlie, dude, I agree with you. The Kings do need to improve. But I think that there are multiple ways to improve. There's drafting, there's trading, and then there's just developing guys. I think the Kings are doing a great job in developing a lot of young players. So I think that they can improve. Like Calvin was saying a couple streams ago, even in this season, without really developing a lot of players, just by guards rebounding better, they can improve. By getting a couple block shots a game, they can improve. But honestly, giving some of these guys time to improve. Like I mentioned, Davion Mitchell, 19 points tonight. We've not seen that a lot out of him, but he plays exceptional defense every single night. Dude, when he just starts hitting a few more shots consistently, this team is going to improve by a lot. So I agree with you. The team does need to get better. But, like Sass says, if a good deal comes, take it. But I'm not hurrying to make any move. I think this team will continue to improve naturally without any artificial injection of talent or anything like that. So, I'm a little a little mixed here. I want them to get better, right? I want to win a championship, but at the same time, I really like what we're doing. And just look back at the situation with Shumpert. We don't want to F it up early by getting rid of a guy that's, the pulse of this team. So I just want to throw that out there. Calvin, De'Aaron Fox, 37 minutes tonight, 23 points, only 3 assists tonight. 11 to 21 from the field. What'd you see out of D Fox?
Definitely in the scorer's mentality mode tonight, early and often. As is, again, stereotypical of this team, the guy in the fourth quarter with the ball in his hands, as San Antonio makes a run and starts to chip away at the lead, he's the guy that, again, gave them that cushion that they could ride off into the sunset with, just like the one behind me.
I like what you did there, Calvin. First game back from Kevin Herter, 23 minutes, didn't shoot well, 4 of 11, only 9 points in this game. I'm not worried about Kevin Herter. I know, Calvin, in the last stream I talked about potentially trading Kevin Herter back to the Atlanta Hawks. It's an interesting conversation. Check out the last stream if you're interested in that. Wasn't anything against Kevin Herter. It was just maybe a possibility of unprotecting that pick, allowing us to trade future picks. Terrence Davis played exceptionally well in the last game, so don't at me on that one. But I think Kevin Herter is doing fine. Happy to see him back on the court tonight. Calvin, anything else on the Kevin Herter front?
Happy to see him back. Yeah, to start after missing 2 games, being sick, and then have to play your first game on the road, I think it's not necessarily expected, but certainly not surprising that you would struggle shooting the ball a little bit. You know, we've seen it from a lot of players on this roster. You see it across the league every year. He'll bounce back. He'll get it going again. Watching this game today, I'm certainly not going to sit here and say I want to trade Kevin Huerter. But watching this game today, I couldn't help but feel like, especially in that first half, as I saw guys, blow by him time and time again to get to the basket, he's definitely not the only one that allows people to get by him. I'm not singling him out here. It's a team problem. But just what this team would look like if they had a real two-way shooting guard, a guy that was a really, really solid defender, a better rebounder than Kevin Huerter. You would hate to lose his offensive skills, his connection with Sabonis, his three-point shooting. He's very valuable to this team. I just had that thought in my head, like, what if they were able to find one of these guys who's actually a real defensive stopper and a guy that can score on the other end also? How different would the team be? I'm sure it's not an easy it's not hard to think that they would be better, right, if you had a better defender out there on the perimeter.
Calvin, maybe you drafted that guy last year.
Perhaps.
Maybe. Shout out to Josh
but that's
here.
The thing is, you don't get anywhere near the offensive production with Davion usually as you do with Kevin Huerter. It's
Shout out to Josh here. Bummer. One more three for Kevin Huerter. Would have won 460. It's okay, Josh. Kings win tonight, right? At least you can take that to the bank. So hopefully that helps you make you feel a little bit better. PK, I see you here in the Twitter spaces. All you got to do is request to come up and be a speaker if you want to talk. Calvin, bench. Let's talk about the bench here. Trey Lyles, who, dude, I've talked about positively after every single game. 12 points, only 2 rebounds tonight, but 4 of 4 from the field, 1 of 1 from three-point range in 22 minutes of action. And then I mentioned 19 huge points for Davion Mitchell, 8 points, 5 rebounds for Metu, and then an off night for Malik Monk. Only 4 shot attempts, 2 points for him, 15 points. Calvin, tell me about the bench tonight.
The bench was awesome. They were great. It's, again, one of those 3 things. I think that you look for a really quick snapshot of the Kings and take the barometer for how well they played. If the bench is scoring and, a lot of times the bench comes in and Davion in particular will ignite them defensively like they did today, you get those 2 things and the starters play well, Harrison Barnes shoots well, all that stuff. They're tough to stop, man. It's a pretty good recipe for success.
Yeah, it feels good when the bench plays well. This Kings team plays much, much better. And as I said, they get the win tonight, Calvin, 132-119, moving them nowhere in the standings. We're in the 4th seed. We're not moving up. We're not moving down. We're looking pretty good, dude. We're padding stats a little bit against Dallas. We got to lose 2 more games for Dallas to even have a chance to tie us here with the 4th seed. I'm looking at New Orleans, Calvin. New Orleans needs to lose a game. We need to win a couple games. Maybe we can move up into that 3 seed, Calvin. That would definitely be pretty incredible. But hey, let's look here at the schedule, right? We lost to Atlanta. We lost to the Lakers. Then we went on this epic 4-game winning streak. Calvin, I mean, I predicted this. We played Orlando. We played 2 games against Houston, a game against San Antonio. But, I mean, look at these scores. This is pretty consistent, Calvin. 136, 111, 135, 115, 139, 114, 132, 119. Calvin, one of the things we've really been talking about is how the difference between a bad team and a good team in the NBA is a good team regularly beats bad teams, right? The games you're supposed to win, you win. These last 4 games, Calvin, the Kings were supposed to win. And they closed out on all 4 of those games, and they didn't even have me sweating. They were doing an excellent job. Now, what does it take to move to a great team is a little bit different, right? We're not a bad team now. We're a good team, but we're trying to be a great team. Calvin, tell me, what is the difference between a good and a great team in the NBA?
I think There are lots of differences, but to me, it's, again, building off what you said, you take care of business. They won these games that they should have won at home. I think winning on the road is another important thing, something the Kings haven't done in a very long time. They're a game above 500 right now as we sit today on the road. So they're beating the teams that they should beat, and they're competitive enough to stay in it with the really good teams in this league. Great teams, they'll find ways to win games even when they're not doing the things that they normally do well. The Kings aren't really in that position yet, right? I mean, if they do all of those things, they shoot well from three, they have brief moments, maybe it's a quarter length where they play really good defense and get some easy buckets, play fast and get in transition. They rebound better than what they normally do. They get bench production. If they do all those things, they can beat teams, any team in the NBA. But if they're struggling in one or more of those areas, they have trouble naturally, right? Great teams like the Celtics, the Nuggets right now, the Grizzlies, they'll find ways to grind out some of those games that maybe you think they shouldn't win or they don't deserve to win because of how well they're playing. They still come out on top because they come together defensively as a team and they make enough plays down the stretch. Then they have great one-on-one players.
Yeah, Charlie says getting defensive stops is definitely something that helps you become a great team, right? I would say timely defensive stops, right? Not just getting stops, but getting them at important moments in the game where you need that rebound, you need that steal. We've seen amazing games in the past, Calvin, playoff games where a really, really good team has been down by 2. They don't have the ball. They get a steal. It seems at the perfect time, hits a 3, wins the game. Is that luck? Maybe a little bit, but a lot of it is just, practicing over and over and over, working on every single play, different situations. And I think you do that consistently. That moves you from a good team to a great team. Okay, let's talk about the next game, Calvin. We got a couple days off. We got Monday and Tuesday to rest, relax. Hopefully the Kings players, can watch some film, work on some things, because I think even after a 4-game winning streak, there's always ways to get better, right? So the next game is on Wednesday against the LA Lakers. Calvin, this game's in LA. Hopefully we can get a beat LA or a light the beam chant at crypto.com arena. ESPN, Calvin, ESPN has us projected to win this game. 59% projection to win this game. As far as the injury report goes, Patrick Beverley is listed as out. We don't know if that will change. There's currently no Sacramento Kings players listed on the injury report. However, we did see Sabonis tweak that left knee. We'll definitely pay close attention to that, see if he is available. I do think he will play in this game. The dude's got a broken thumb, and he's still out there playing and playing exceptionally well. So, Calvin, give me your first thoughts on this game on Wednesday.
Revenge game, right? I mean, it was a pretty rough loss in Sacramento to the Lakers not too long ago. I think that their rivalry games in the NBA are, I think, overblown a lot of times. This one, especially now that the Kings are much better, probably not so much. This should be a pretty easy game to get up for, if you're a player in the middle of the regular season, having just lost a close game where the officiating was, again, a huge topic of interest. De'Aaron Fox was super upset at the end of that game. I expect him to come out motivated and ready to win this game.
Calvin, dude, Sacktown Pete is calling Jeremy Sochin a Walmart Rodman, dude. That is fucking hilarious, dude. Walmart Rodman, that's what we're going to call him from now on. Same number, same tattoos, different personality, different numbers on the court. So Walmart Rodman it is. But yeah, I agree with you. I think this is a little bit of a revenge game, right? The Lakers won the last one with LeBron, who hadn't played a couple games before, didn't play afterwards. Always a big rivalry. We're fighting for a position in the standings. The Lakers are trying to figure out where they really stand, right? They're 19-23. Are they going to be fighting for playoffs? Are they going to make a big move? Are they trading Russell Westbrook and some of those picks? Does LeBron demand a trade and want out of LA to go somewhere else? Still all yet to be seen, but both of these teams are definitely battling. The Kings are trying to, get some more respect. The Lakers, I don't know what they're trying to do, Calvin. They're just trying to look like a respectable team out there. I think the Kings ultimately win this game, but it is going to be a lot of fun to watch, Calvin. And I believe this was supposed to be a game on ESPN. Am I wrong?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't want to say something and
I know they've been messing with our schedule. You know, we had a nationally televised game that they switched off. Maybe it was Houston. Maybe it was the Houston.
Houston was the ESPN game that they took away.
But
gave it to Suns Nuggets instead.
Yeah. Give me your keys to this game, Calvin, because the Lakers, you know, they still have some talent. They have LeBron James. I think Anthony Davis is still out. They have Russell Westbrook. We talked about their lack of shooting that they had, but they've been playing much better than they have, you know, at the start of the season. But give me your keys to beating the Lakers on Wednesday.
Well, I think just basing it off of this most recent game, the Kings we talked a lot about how there's a lot of similarities in how these teams play. They're both in the top 4 in pace. They like to get up and down a lot. They play without Anthony Davis. The Lakers also are playing, smaller lineups. I think it's going to come down to a couple of matchups here that really killed the Kings. Russell Westbrook has played really well against the Kings all season long. They have to do a better job of limiting him. It's much easier said than done, but limiting his ability to attack and kind of open things up for other guys on that team. And then Thomas Bryant was an absolute killer for them. So rebounding, of course, is going to be of the utmost importance again in this game. Other than that, they're firing on cylinders offensively, all cylinders, right? So you just want to see that continue. You need the bench to play better than they did in that previous matchup, and you need more rebounding, more defensive stops. Russell Westbrook is a key matchup, I think, in this game. Davion, he and Russ have had some pretty good matchups already in the past season and a half of Davion's career. I'm going to look to him to kind of slow him down again.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you look at the last 2 games against the Lakers. We played them on December 21st. We won 134-120. And then we played them again on January 7th, lost 136-134. So I think defensive stops is going to be key in this game. We know the Kings are probably going to put up 120, 130 points in this game. Can they get the stops necessary to get the victory is definitely something that I'm keeping my eye on Wednesday. Whether it's rebounding, whether it's getting the Lakers to turn the ball over more, or just holding them to a horrible free or field goal percentage. One of those things definitely needs to be apparent in this game for the Kings to get a victory. But yeah, I'm looking towards the defensive end of the ball. We all know the Kings can score, and they do it exceptionally well. But can they get some stops? Which is definitely huge. Also, shout out to Lydia here. Today is the day of the beginning for trades. Yes.
That's right.
Lydia,
it is the 15th, huh?
Today is January 15th. If you were signed in the offseason by a team that you weren't previously with, you were eligible to be traded December 15th. However, if you were on a team and you signed a contract extension or something like that, today is the day you are eligible to be traded. So that's guys like Mo Bamba.
Opens up a lot of players.
I had a whole list of them. I can't remember them all, but there was quite a few people.
It's a long list.
On that list. Charlie says, key to the game, number 1, string together stops. Number 2, blitz LeBron and make the role players beat you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think
to
build off of that, yeah, absolutely, I agree. And to build off of that last one, make them jump shooters. I know they shot from 3 really, really well in the last game they played against the Kings, but I'm playing the percentages on this team for sure. I'm letting Russell Westbrook put up threes if he wants to. I'm letting, Lonnie Walker's been their best pretty much three-point shooter all season long, I think, and he is possibly still out. He's missed a lot of games for them. There aren't many guys on this team, I think, that you have to say we literally cannot let them get one breath look from 3. Any type of distance. You definitely want to force this team to beat you from the outside.
Yeah, shout out to Neil here for joining in. Straight up, I think you got to make LeBron look old in this game. You got to make him work hard. Yes, he's still one of the best players in the NBA, and he can do it all. But, Calvin, at some point, age is going to catch up to him. but this Kings team has a lot of young players, a lot of talent, a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism, and a lot of wind, dude. We need to run circles around LeBron and tire him out for this game, so he is not available in the fourth quarter. At least he's tired by the time the fourth quarter hits. So I think that's another important thing. Calvin, I think that pretty much wraps us up today for the show. Any last words for the royal family out there?
Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you guys had a great day. NFL playoffs, Kings win. Marsha Miller, shout out. Congratulations on the Giants.
Congratulations. Also, shout out to Mike Monticello for joining in here. It's okay, buddy. You're late. You can just hit that rewind button and watch from the start. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to smash up that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We'll see you all on Wednesday for Kings Lakers. Calvin, can I hear the cowbell on the way out? Let's just get some cowbell going.
Of course.
Smash it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful night. More cowbell, Calvin. We need more cowbell. That's my bouncer right there.